Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. There's flag. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Only Football Podcast. Tonight, we're going to be recapping the NFL Week 15. We're going to do our top five, and we're also going to go over some of the contenders and pretenders in these last 3 weeks of the NFL 2023 season. And of course, we always end it off with the little chives with Kyle. Let's get it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here ready to let you know what we think of everything that's happened in week 15. I'm Kyle and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
And at least for everybody that I know, we all lost. I literally don't have a friend that won this week. Now, I've really thought about it. I mean, Steelers, Jags, no friend. Wow, we're gonna start toxic tonight. Okay,
just kidding.
Okay, so Steelers lost, Jags lost, Bears lost, Broncos lost, Giants lost, Jets lost. I mean, am I missing anybody? Do we know anybody that was happy this week at all?
Colts? Ginger?
Okay, Ginger. I'll give you that one. The Colts
gotta
have
give
a
them
lot
that
to
one.
be happy about.
Yeah.
But overall, I guess if you're gonna fall, you want everyone to fall together. So I think, I'm staying optimistic, and we'll talk about it later tonight. Like you said, we're going to have a whole thing, contenders and pretenders. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to answer a lot of questions. So let's get right into our recap, okay? We had a triple header on Saturday, and we're going to skip right over the game with the Raiders and the Chargers because
100%.
I think we beat that to death, and Staley got fired and 60 points, all that. All right. Moving on to Saturday. We had very good football. The first game was great. The next two weren't as great, but we're going to start with the best today. The Minnesota Vikings did not get the win, but they were up 2 scores in the fourth quarter. And the Bengals came back and won this game. It was an incredible comeback. 24-27 was your final score. Rick, what did you think about this game?
What a game this was, man, because the Vikings looked pretty damn good in this one for about 3 quarters. And then the Bengals and Jake Browning came back and were like, oh, yeah, we've got all these weapons on this team. Why aren't we winning? And Jake Browning, that's exactly what he did. I didn't know this little known fact, and maybe you did, Kyle, maybe the viewers did as well, but Jake Browning, he got cut from the Vikings practice squad 2 years ago. I don't know if you knew that.
I did. I didn't know that, but I heard it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because somebody was like, I think I learned it on a Grassi video because I think he was making a joke that the Vikings cut him.
I mean, and look what he did to his former practice squad team, however you want to say it. 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he wins his third straight start. So the Bengals are starting to look really good in this playoff picture. Mixon scored a touchdown. T. Higgins scored for the first time since week 2, and he had 2 touchdowns in this game. So the Bengals are looking good for the playoffs. And, especially after going into the fourth quarter, being down 17-3, they score 3 straight touchdowns to not only tie it, they go into overtime, and they hit that field goal to win it in OT. So the Bengals, this game on Saturday, they looked really damn good. And Jake Browning just continues to prove that, or at least to the Vikings, that you shouldn't have cut me, assholes. So he did really well against his former team. On the other side for the Vikings, great start. Defense, one of the best units, I think, in the last few weeks. Defensive wise for the Vikings, they just could not close it out, man. They could not close it out in the fourth quarter. Nick Mullins looked really good in this game. 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But I mean, it is what it is with Nick Mullins. He's making his second start, I believe, or at least the second appearance in a game. First start for I believe against the Bengals.
I thought it looked like a quarterback that could build off of that. And Nick Mullins came from San Francisco, so he was coached up by Kyle Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody pops right away. Maybe he's having a growth spurt, in Minnesota. And holy shit, if Kyle Shanahan has his fingerprints on this guy, who knows, man? I thought I was very impressed by Nick Mullins.
Yeah, and this Vikings offense, which in weeks prior, even with Joshua Dobbs, it looked so much better. They had over 400 yards of total offense, two scores to Jordan Addison. The second string running back Chandler had a rushing touchdown. Like, this offense as a whole with Nick Mullins there under center looked way better than it had. Dog shit. No, it looked way better. So props to Nick Mullins and whatever they're doing with the offense now with him there.
Yeah, and on the Vikings side, right, there's going to be this is a crucial end of the schedule for the Vikings. I mean, you got the teams. I have them down here actually. Okay, so it's going to be okay. No, I didn't write him down. Sorry. I thought I had
Boo, Kyle. Throw a dog shit in the chat.
You can throw a dog shit in the chat for that. Yeah. But the AFC and the NFC playoff picture still is totally up in the air right now. And Cincinnati is in the thick of it now because of Jake Browning. They've put themselves in good shape moving forward. I'm loving Jake Browning. This has been really, if you're an underdog guy, right? If you can't stand that kid that had like a Range Rover in high school and treated it like shit, because his parents were rich, like if you actually like seeing like the little guy, yeah, I guess it was a little personal, but no, I was just saying, like, I know somebody like that. I'm sure you know somebody like that.
100%,
where they don't understand repercussions and consequences and work ethic
or the
and all
value.
that. Value.
Yeah.
And the meaning of shit. So when I look at all these young quarterbacks rising, I fucking love it. I love it. And it's not that I love it more than like Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and all that. I just love it differently. It scratches a different itch. Like, it's like, wow, the anybody, it's already in any given Sunday league. But usually, like, if you're playing a backup, any given Sunday really benefits the team you're playing. But it's like, this is a great reminder. Any given Sunday, any given player can just rise and take this team to the next level. And I said it during the game. The roster on the Bengals is so talented that the fact that they're able to get above mediocre play from Jake Browning means that this team, I will say this, their ceiling is the Super Bowl. That's their ceiling.
Wow.
They're like, and this goes for a lot of teams. Buffalo can win the Super Bowl this year. And we said it would happen in a weird, awkward year. A year you would never expect it to happen is when Buffalo will win it. That's this year. That meets all the criteria. And plus, they're probably not going to lose again for the rest of the season, finish the season with 11 wins. And we'll be looking back saying, who cares? They were an 11-win team. Who cares what struggles they had? And we'll talk about them
Yeah.
later. But the Bengals are in the same position. The talent is ridiculous. Jake Browning's playing very good. T. Higgins looks like he's finally getting back involved after being gone all year. T. Higgins was keeping the Bengals in that game when Jamar Chase got sidelined. Jake Browning was throwing it to T. Higgins. And watching them play together and being down 14, and the Vikings are the hardest defense the Bengals will play until they get to the Super Bowl potentially. We know that Brian Flores blitzes like crazy. Maybe the Chiefs, you could say, have a better defense, but the Vikings, if Jake Browning against a person that blitzes more than any other person and disguises it well, if he can win that test down 14 in the fourth quarter, he can beat any AFC team. And the reason we spend a little extra time in this game is because it's a big deal. It's a big deal when a franchise quarterback goes down for the whole season, and you're just hoping some guy can step in and maybe take you to the playoffs. Jake Browning has proven that he can take this team a lot farther than just the wild card round. And I think the Bengals have something to be really happy about after feeling like their season was over 3 weeks ago.
I love it. And it can be one of those situations, like you said, where we're looking back at a Jake Browning and maybe Joe Burrow comes back, whatever the issue may be. And we're looking back and we're like, damn, we really counted them out in week 8, week 9, week 10 with Joe Burrow out or whatever. And, you talked about the Bills, which we will talk about later. It could be the same thing. But we'll just have to wait and see. And that's what these next 3 weeks of football are gonna prove to us.
Hell yeah. Our second game, we had Ginger's Colts taking on the Steelers. The Colts won. They won, I thought, pretty handedly. They were in charge of this game from the whole time. They didn't have their number one wide receiver. They didn't have their number one running back. Right there, you look at Gardner Minshew, missing weapons, 30 points. This is because they are coached so well. And they found their Kyle Shanahan. They found their Mike McDaniels, or Kyle Shanahan. All these guys, like, they got one now. Shane Steichen is that dude.
Yes.
And what's crazy, and this is I'm going to let you answer this, but I thought the defense looked really good in this game, but the Steelers' offense makes every defense look really good. So I'm kind of holding back a little bit on that. But I still loved what I was seeing. The fundamentals were there. They were wrapping up. They're making tackles. They're flying around to the ball. Like, there's just an energy with this Colts team. And you're seeing this with a lot of teams, but especially the ones that are coached really well. The Colts they got to be feeling like they're on top of the world right now.
Dude, they are. And this isn't a season where Gardner Minshew was signed onto this team. We've talked about it before. We signed onto this team, said, hey, you're going to be our starter. They went and drafted Anthony Richardson, told him, hey, you're going to sit behind him. And he said, okay. Anthony Richardson gets hurt a couple times, and then on the last time is out for the season. So Gardner Minshew comes in and pretty much does exactly what he expected to do before they drafted Anthony Richardson, which was become the starting quarterback for the Colts. And he has taken that role very seriously, and you could see in his play what he has done. They're one of the top scoring offenses, and that necessarily isn't all on Minshew. You mentioned Shane Steichen as the head coach and offensive guy. Like, it's on Steichen. It's on the fact Jonathan Taylor signed and came back, Zach Moss's emergence, Michael Pittman and Gardner Minshew's relationship. Like, all these things are working in unison at once, and you see it in their play. Now, I know you wanted to talk about how the defense looked really good for the Colts, but that is because they went up against a very bad offense in the Steelers. What I will say is they scored those 13 points early, and the defense basically shut them down for the rest of the game after that score. Yeah. The Colts scored 30 straight points on this defense of the Steelers, which has been pretty damn good all season up until pretty late recently, right? In the beginning of the season to mid-season, we're looking at the Steelers defense. We're like, oh man, it's going to be a tough one. Tomlin's going to keep them in the game or in the season, right? Like this, like their defense. Along with that, it's going to be really good for the Steelers. But the defense, I believe TJ Watt has missed some significant time. It has just kind of gone downhill from there. And of course, the offense is just nothing to look at and be amazed by. They got rid of Matt Canada. The next game, they had over 300, almost 400 yards of offense. And really, all of us kind of thought, okay, Matt Canada was the problem. That is not the case. Even with Kenny Pickett before he got injured, still not really looking good offensively. And you throw in Trubisky, which I love him. He's a first round guy, third overall pick or second overall pick, whatever he was, but he's just not a good quarterback. And the shitty thing is that the Steelers have really, really good weapons there on the offensive side. But when Trubisky's throwing 2 interceptions and I think he had like less than 150 yards, something like that, it's going to be a tough game for them. But the Colts, again, they had some losses. Pittman and Zach Moss both got injured in this game, but their third and fourth string running backs, they had over 150 rush yards. They are the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs. They've won 5 of their last 6. Jinja, your Colts are looking really good. And in terms of the Steelers on the other side, dude, I'm starting to think that Mike Tomlin, with all of the player issues that he's had in years prior, I don't know if, offensive players want to come play for him anymore. Now, Matt Canada was a big issue for that, but you look at the players that have, had major issues with the Steelers. Chase Claypool, what was the running back's name that went to the Jets a few years ago? I'm already forgetting his name, but you have Deontay Johnson.
James Robinson.
No, not James Robinson. It was somebody else. I'm sure someone in the chat can help me out.
Last year, he went to the Jets like at the trade deadline, right?
No, from the Steelers though.
Oh, he went to the Jags from James Conner?
No, he went to the Jets from the Steelers, and it was probably like 3-4 years ago or something like that.
Oh, Le'Veon Bell.
Le'Veon Bell. The other receiver who went absolutely crazy, but won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady with the Bucks.
AB.
Like you have all these players, Bell. Thank you, Crafty. You have all these players that seem to have huge issues and go into other teams. And while they may not succeed on those other teams, minus maybe AB with the Super Bowl win, I don't know what it says about the locker room on the offensive side about Mike Tomlin. Like he's had a ton of this happen in Pittsburgh in the last 10 years, I would say. So I don't know what's going on in the locker room there. I don't know if Mike Tomlin is, he has been very consistent in terms of winning percentage and in terms of putting a good football product out on the field. What goes on in the locker room, though, it seems to, I don't know, things are starting to emerge. It's starting to look, when you look back, it's starting to look a little weird. It's starting to look a little murky, dark waters type shit. But that's all speculative, but I'm just asking questions. Colts look good, though.
Yeah, it's like, on one hand, as soon as Mike Tomlin got another winning season by winning Week 18 last year, we were like, Mike Tomlin's one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He's never had a losing season. I mean, this wasn't even a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it just shows you how, like, when you don't win, how people react so quick. I mean,
but you also got to look at what's going on in the past. That's why I'm bringing up Le'Veon Bell, AB, Chase Claypool, and even now Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. You see the effort all of those guys put on the field in recent years with the Steelers, and it's like, what is it? What's going on there?
Well, a lot of that Le'Veon Bell was a contract issue, and AB got fucked up in the head, I think. With
that hit by Perfect. Yeah, I would say so.
But Mike Tomlin's a great leader, and he is one of the great coaches of our generation. And on the other hand, when's the last time you really took the Steelers serious as a threat? I'll wait.
Yeah.
2004. I'm serious. Like, even when Big Ben was there, we didn't care
Yeah.
the last 5 years. Like, maybe Steeler fans thought they were good. I know how it is being a fan. You get, you
Mhm.
look at your team different, but we didn't. The
Mhm.
world didn't think the Steelers. So I do think I see both sides of the story when it comes to
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin.
Absolutely.
But just what he's done so far, I think he earns, just like I said with Belichick, I think these two guys have earned the right to draft one more quarterback and see if they can hit. Because all that's going to happen is Belichick's going to go to the Chargers and succeed, and it's going to be because they have Justin Herbert. I mean, you just need a better quarterback. Mitch Trubisky is not it. Mason Rudolph
Yeah.
is not it.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett, not it. So, of course, the Steelers, the fact that you have a winning season at this point in the season is a testament to the greatness of Mike Tomlin. And I can say that as a person who knows what it's like to have a team that a head coach is just holding it together barely, but winning football games in the process. A bad coach, this Steelers team would be 1-14 right now. And they have a winning season. So definitely just my opinion there. But Edub put up
Trash.
a trash personal bias. The Eagles play lately has been way worse than the Steelers or anyone. That's
I don't know about that one. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
That's not a good take. But I love it. All right, Rick. Let's fucking get into it. All right, the Denver Broncos got their asses kicked. They did have those 5 touchdowns scored in this game, but only 2 of them counted. So I thought when they got that touchdown and then they ran it again and got a touchdown, and then the offensive false start that I didn't even see there. I really felt like Denver making it a 2-possession game in the third quarter. I thought that was a huge moment, but as soon as they had to settle for a field goal, I mean, it was 21-35. You can come back from that, and I felt like getting that touchdown was what we needed. But as soon as like it didn't count twice, and then it was just like it got ugly and stupid, and it was like, oh, okay, it's going to be like that. But really, Denver was dominated in this game. They were outplayed. They were outcoached. They were out everything. And I think it's just 3 road trips in a row in the middle of December and the holidays, and Russ is having kids. There's a lot of shit going on right now. And I think everybody will really enjoy just going back home to Denver and fucking being at home. You know what it's like in the military when you're on the road. And I think it got to the team. I didn't think I don't look at that game and say that's who Detroit is, or like, I do think that's who Detroit is, but I don't look at it like that's who Denver is and they're just that much worse than Detroit. That's not how I look at it. Especially in not like a shot at the Bears, but you see how the Bears just had success beating them. So like they're not some kind of freaking unbeatable team by any means. It's
They're not the 49ers.
What gauntlet or what's the word for like an unbeatable person?
A beast, a savage,
like an unbeatable. This is getting flipped for sure.
A giant, I guess.
Yeah, it'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Yeah, I'll come on you.
But anyway, they are beatable. Denver didn't play a good game, and luckily they're going to have 3 games against beatable teams. But I'm going to be honest, not feeling confident right now.
Invincible, indomitable, something like that. Yeah, Edub, Crafty, I appreciate you guys trying.
Juggernaut.
A juggernaut. There we go. Untouchable. Juggernaut. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, man. It I felt really bad about this loss because, again, I'm always a Bears fan. I've never been another fan, but now that we've done this podcast, I do have a soft spot for the Broncos, and that loss against the Lions, I didn't expect it. And it seems like, again, all the things you mentioned, right? And especially just being on the road in general, like that one I think hurt a lot. Being on the road for so many games in a row, and then, going into Detroit after the Lions just got kind of embarrassed by the Bears the week prior. You said it too afterwards. You're like, thanks, I appreciate you Yeah, I appreciate the Bears doing that, making them
Yeah, it's like
angry.
thanks for pissing off the Lions before we have to go to
Exactly.
the go to play them.
And this is kind of this is unfortunately the result that you guys had to play them after that, because the Lions put up stupid numbers, 42 points. Like, the offense came to play for the Lions finally. Jared Goff had no turnovers after several weeks prior to this week 15 matchup. He had 6 turnovers, I think, most of them being interceptions, a couple fumbles here and there.
Mhm.
Like, he was bad in those weeks, but he came he came to this game at home against the Broncos and was perfect. He threw for 5 touchdowns. Gibbs rushed for a score. And the Lions basically threw out any doubt that they were a good team. They threw out all of that stuff. So they are a good team offensively, and defensively, they really showed out against the Broncos. Again, unfortunately, it was against your team, but I do want you to know that it does make me a little sad inside that the Broncos had to lose this one. Is in terms of the Broncos, man, to me, it seemed like maybe there wasn't enough. I don't know, the game planning on Sean Payton's side. I don't know. It just seemed like maybe it was maybe it was just a combination of all the stuff that's happened prior, and it just all came to fruition for the Lions. But the Broncos did not seem prepared for anything that the Lions were doing offensively or defensively. They had a very promising first drive, and what happened? Did Russ fumble or throw an interception? I forget what happened in that first drive.
Yeah,
It was a
hit
turnover,
Jerry
right?
Jeudy on the first on that slant. That was
Mhm.
awesome. And then they had another good play. And then Russ was he was sacked and he fumbled the ball. He got hit
Yeah.
from like his blind side. He
Mhm.
was trying to move away and the ball was down here and it got like slapped out and then the game was over. Like I
Yeah.
just wonder, I just wonder
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
he doesn't fumble, what this game is like.
What happens, right? But and
I say the same thing about the first snap in Super Bowl 47 or
mm,
48 with
mhm,
Peyton Manning snap being a safety. Like you
all the
have
way
these
behind them.
moments early in a game where you'll always look back and be like, I wonder if you just remove that. That's a game altering play. If you just
Mhm.
take that away, whole new destiny awaits us. But unfortunately, the ball didn't bounce their way.
No, not in offensively, man. It was just series after series of 3 and out, 3 and out. The Broncos only had 75 yards of offense that first half. I think a total. I can't remember the total yardage, but I think it was like just over 200, something like that. Um, it was a rough time for the Broncos. You had that offensive offsides penalty. You had Sean Payton yelling at Russ. It seemed like he was yelling at
Was
Russ,
it
dude. I'm
yelling
not
at
gonna lie.
Russ?
I think it was. I
He
think Sean
he
Payton.
already said he wasn't
I
yelling at Russ.
know, but the way he was looking at him, the way he was yelling at him,
It's
we can
passion.
say all the things that Sean
That's what
Payton
I would
said.
look at in that exact situation.
To
Are you
me, it
fucking
looked,
kidding me? How the fuck did they? And yeah, he probably did have some like coaching points in
yeah,
there. You got to make sure they're fucking set, but
yeah, definitely. It
like
just seemed like he
it's
was
just
pissed at him.
that's how like Sean's an old school coach. And this is my main kind of point is like Sean is not he's not Mike McDaniel. Like he's
Mhm,
not like everything's chill, bro. Like he's very intense and he cares a lot. And that's like he doesn't do this every game, but he's good for one of those moments every 6 weeks or so. Like and I think
mhm.
for Denver, we have to remember like he's the best thing we have. So
Yeah.
spending any time trying to create a story about how he's yelling at Russ. Like he even said, and they asked him about it again on Monday
Mhm.
in on the Zoom call, and he's like, they were like, "Are you going to talk to Russ about what happened?" And he's like, "No, because nothing happened. Me and Russ are fine. Our relationship's great." Like,
I totally get that, and I just think in the moment again, I just think it was like there was a disconnect between what he was calling or what he was
yeah.
seeing versus what Russ did.
And
So
Bronco fans are saying that like we're split right now. Half are like he
yeah,
needs to take responsibility and not try to
hmm
make Russ the scapegoat.
oh yeah,
Um,
I don't know if that's the issue really. I
But,
don't know
like,
if
people are taking it there, you know what I
okay,
mean? And I'm
yeah,
like, first off, like, don't draw a conclusion when we don't know what he said. Like,
hmm
only Russ and Sean Payton know, because I've been mad before and I'm venting to a friend and
hmm
to a stranger in the parking lot, it would look like I'm fighting with this person. And I could see how that might look on TV, like he's, you know,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure a lot of that had to do with the ref. But why the fuck did he not throw a challenge flag? I'm gonna hold him accountable for that, because
Absolutely.
you have to throw your challenge flag. 2 touchdowns, and then whoever's responsible for telling him in his earpiece to throw the challenge flag is even more of an asshole.
Yeah, do that shit.
Yeah.
You and I were sitting here during the stream just pissed off that he wasn't, doing that. So I again, and last note on this, I do want to give a quick shout out to your boy Laporta. You have him in fantasy. First rookie tight end to get 70 receptions, 700 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He is going to be insane in the league.
Yeah, he's the real deal, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But yeah, the last thing I'll say about this, dude, is that it's a week-to-week league. We lost to the Texans. We were 18th in power rankings, and everyone's like, Denver's a fraud. We destroyed the Chargers the next week. They were number 11, and they were like, okay, they've won 6 of 7. Then they lose to Detroit. Now it's like, oh, this team has no margin for error. They're not for real. They can't keep up. If Denver wins on, then it's just going to keep doing that. And you just got to, like, as a fan, you just got to ride the ride. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's 1 week. We got to deal with being losers for a week. But if we win on Sunday, all this goes away. So
all of it goes away 100%. And Russ still believes, man, like that guy, like if you want somebody to stand behind, and if there's somebody you want to block for, if there's somebody you want to catch a pass from, it's fucking Russell Wilson.
Yeah. You're like, dude, Russ believes. He brings a whole new meaning to what belief means.
If nothing else, that dude believes, and he has
definitely gone through some tests, gone through some trials.
There have been some tests and some trials. All right, there's going to be a lot of tests and trials for this game. In our patience. I mean, 7-9. I know it's raining, man, but come on, this is crazy. 7. I mean, Bryce Young, he led a game-winning drive. Congratulations.
Good for him.
Game-winning drive for the Panthers' second win this year. And it was a game, dude. I was watching it on Red Zone. I could see that it was raining really bad. I thought the Falcons were going to win that game, but ever since they fired their coach, remember we talked about this. I took the Panthers. Yeah. But the Falcons, man, they have the ability. The talent is ridiculous. Their playoff hopes takes a huge blow here. They dropped to 6-8, and they're with the Saints and Bucks. They had an opportunity just 2 weeks ago to take a 2-game lead on the Saints, and now here they are. And I will say their chances of making the playoffs are definitely damaged after this loss. The 3 games remaining. You do have the Bears in between these two, but Colts and Saints are the other two. So I don't think they beat the Colts. Bears are winning right now, but who knows? Anything could happen in that game. And then the Saints game, I think anything could happen. So I still think that there's a chance that they could make it, but a late season collapse doesn't have me optimistic.
No, and the Falcons, like, they really fucked up, man. They got weapons. It's just their quarterback, and really, I think at the tippy top of it all, it's Arthur Smith's play calling or head coaching in general is what's really killing this team, man. They just keep shooting themselves in the foot. Ritter keeps throwing interceptions at bad times. Bijan Robinson had a fumble in this game. Arthur Smith is calling a total of, I think, like 5 or 8 throws to Drake London and Pitts, and then running the ball with Bijan Robinson only like 7 times. And you're going with Ritter at your quarterback. Like, this is just top to bottom, a very mismanaged team. And they look promising basically the entire season because of the weapons they've got, but unfortunately they just can't get it together. And again, the majority of the blame has to go to Arthur Smith. And moving forward, I mean, he's been the coach for, I think this may be his 2nd or 3rd season, whatever it may be. I don't know what they do with Arthur Smith at the end of this year, but right now, he does not look like a good coach for the Falcons. And you said it, right? With the Saints and the Tampa Bay Bucks winning this week, it's just looking even worse. They're not going to be division winners. They're not going to make the playoffs. I'm going to say that right now. Like, they are not flirting with that at all, especially with the way they've been playing pretty much all season, but especially late. Patterson was the only one with the touchdown today. That was the only touchdown scored, and it was a shovel pass from Ritter to Cordero Patterson. So that was cool for, the Falcons. But you mentioned it, Bryce Young, 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and takes up basically all that time in the fourth quarter, 90 yards for a game-winning field goal from Eddie Pinheiro. That is the second time Eddie Pinheiro's or at least with the Panthers, both games that they've won have come off Eddie Pinheiro's foot. And, they come away with 3 field goals, and that was enough to win the game. And that's enough for the Panthers to get two wins. And I believe that's the interim head coach, Chris Tabor's first win as a head coach or as an interim, whatever it may be. So not a lot of stuff going on in this game. Like you said, tickets were 45 cents. They were reselling for $4 online.
No,
dude, it was bad. Empty stadium. I think, I forget who was it. I think it was Bill or somebody sent us that picture. 20 minutes before the game.
Bad fan base.
20 minutes before the game, stadium empty. And you can't blame them. There was a ton of rain and it was shit. And also,
I blame them.
Just like the weather, the team was shit. So, but 45 cents for a ticket, you got to be shitting me, dude.
Yeah, dude. Man, we'll never be that. We'll be in the rain watching our shitty football team.
Oh, yeah. I will.
Yeah, dude. They need weapons. They need a lot of things. They're going to need a quarterback, so they're going to probably have to scoop on up in 2024. But their receiver with the most catches, Adam Thielen.
I think he dropped the
brother out a little bit.
And I think he dropped the touchdown in this game.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So that's your best receiver.
Yeah.
All right, our next game, we had the Bears and the Browns. The Bears had a chance to win this game, and I'm not talking about the Hail Mary. I'm talking about the fact that they played a better, more complete football game, and I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing from Montez Sweat. They were doing a great job of pressuring Flacco. We were watching that game together for a lot of it. He had 3 picks in the game, and I thought the Bears just did everything right, and somehow they lost at the end. But Flacco undefeated with the Browns. I guess first I'll say, how do you feel, from a Bears perspective, and then what's your take on Flacco and his ceiling with Cleveland?
Flacco with the Browns, man, he's been resilient. This team, I think, as a whole, this entire season has been very resilient. They're 9-5. They have had 4 different quarterbacks. They have had Nick Chubb go out with injury. They've had a ton of injuries across the board. In this game alone, I think 3 of their starters, both on the offense and the defense, were out. So this was almost a plus for the Bears in just all aspects. You held Myles Garrett to no sacks in this game. But Joe Flacco, right? Like, let me go back to before I get angry into the Bears. Joe Flacco doing really well with what he came into with the Browns, right? I think I believe, is that his 3rd win or 2nd win? Something like that. Second win, right?
Well, I think he might. It's 2 or 3. It's 2 or 3.
Yeah. Flacco.
3. He entered this game with the 2-0 record. Yeah.
Okay, so this is his 3rd win, right? Flacco looked bad early. Just off the rip, he looked bad early. He had 3 interceptions. Where was it? Was it 3 picks? Yeah, 3 picks. But in the fourth quarter alone, this is like resilient Flacco, resilient Browns team. In the fourth quarter alone, he had 212 yards passing and a score. That's how you know the Bears gave up. As far as the ceiling with Flacco, man, I really don't know, because in 3 games, and this is his 3rd win in those 3 games, he's fucking 75 years old, basically retired and on Medicare right now. And yet he's coming into the NFL and winning 3 games. That's tough to do in any NFL. right? Like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how old you are. That is tough to do when you were on the couch a month ago.
Crazy.
So yeah, I really think if he can continue doing this and the Browns continue to be the resilient team they are, they could get into the playoffs on a wild card. Flacco would have to play better. He would have to not have as many picks in that first half like he did. And the Browns, I think, as a team, while resilient, they have a 5-0 record in games decided by 3 or fewer points. You really don't want that going into the playoffs. You don't want to have that, I guess, like reputation sticking, right? Like through these last 3 weeks and into the playoffs. If you do get in, I mean, it's awesome that you're winning these close games, but you have to come back 10 points down to the Bears, right? You have to come back from those games. And yes, you're winning, but dude, if you're in the playoffs and there's a team like the Ravens or the Dolphins and they're up 10 points, you're going to be hard pressed as a Browns team with Flacco at quarterback to come back against a team like that in the playoffs. But can they get into the playoffs? Absolutely. As long as Flacco plays as well as he did in the fourth quarter against the Bears. Now the Bears, you said it, Montez Sweat has been absolutely amazing. He has 6 sacks since he has joined the Bears, and that's just under half of his total for this season, which is 12.5. He has had a ridiculous amount of pressures. He has taken the pressure off of other defensive linemen who get in there and cause pressures, cause hits, cause sacks. So he has just been wonderful for the Bears, and they have him for another 4 years. So this was a great signing by Poles. Another brilliant signing by Poles, really, at the end of the day, which just reinforces my belief into Poles as a GM. Now, the Bears going into the fourth quarter had a 10-point lead. What did they do the 3 quarters before? Because they were up 13-3 or something like that. And going to the fourth quarter up 10, they could not hold a lead. They cannot put their foot on their throat. They cannot put the pedal to the metal, which I've been saying pretty much all fucking season. What they were able to do to the Lions, what they were able to do to the Commanders earlier in the season, they could not do that against the Browns. Credit to the Browns again for being resilient, but they had a bunch of injuries across the board, and the Bears could not take advantage of that. Justin Fields looked a little rough around the edges. Darnell Mooney was being overthrown. He had a couple drops. He had a missed block for a run that, or for a possible touchdown run that Fields could have thrown in there. You threw to DJ Moore only 8 times, and he caught 5 of those for like 50 yards. What is that? Why are you only throwing it to DJ Moore only 8 times? He's your number one. You see what happens when you throw to him double-digit amount of times. He's your 50-50 guy. Throw to him more. Getsy, you fucking moron. I absolutely hate Getsy because the play calling is so conservative. It's so bad. On every drive, you're just like, well,
shotgun run.
Yeah, shotgun run. Shotgun on 3rd and 8, and we're going to throw a screen pass. Motherfucker, screen passes haven't worked for this team all season long, and you keep wanting to go to that.
Being aggressive has worked so far. Let's get conservative.
Let's get conservative. These first 15 plays we scripted, yeah, they work. Nah, fuck that. Throw that shit out. Let's do screen passes and let's do 3rd down shotgun runs. That's so fucking stupid by Getsy. All around offensively, I think it was a bad game, but it does stem a lot from the play calling. The defense, for as much credit as they had against this Browns team for 3 quarters, that fourth quarter, they completely crumbled. But you have to look at the offense and be like, hey, you got to hold up your end of the deal. You guys got to put up 24, 27 points to give us a chance to maybe ease up if we need to, if we're tired. Joe Flacco threw for 212 yards in the fourth quarter alone. He had like over 350. How do you let that happen as a defense? But more importantly, how do you let that happen as a team where you were up 10 points going to the fourth quarter? Now, the Hail Mary thing, people were going in on Darnell Mooney for not catching that. He's falling backwards, trying to get the rebound, and he's not expecting it. He doesn't know what to expect in that situation. Bounced off him. He kicked it up in the air. Did it look stupid? Sure. But was that a designed fucking play for a Hail Mary? No, it wasn't. So everybody going in on Mooney for dumb ticky-tacky shit like that, stop it. I put out a video on Twitter about the same shit. And yes, he missed some blocks. Yes, he missed some throws. But overall, like Justin Fields misses them quite a bit, especially when he's open. So bad game for the Bears. They're dead. They're dead. All these
How
things
tall
have to
is
happen.
Justin Fields?
I think 6'3", 6'3".
Okay, shouldn't be an issue then.
No,
Shorter quarterbacks have an issue seeing the middle of the field, and I know Russ does. I didn't know if he was like 6'1", you know,
or like 6 feet, something like that. No, he's 6'3".
6'1", 6'3". Yeah, never mind then.
He's a big boy, but he just overthrows his guys, and I don't know. He just couldn't do anything with his legs really in this game, and I don't know. The Bears are dead, regardless. You know, in terms of playoff, which they should have been, but
Whoever's playing the Panthers, go them.
exactly, go them. And yeah, that's my Bears analysis.
All right. We had the Battle of the Bays. Jordan Love was on fire recently, beating the Lions and the Chiefs in consecutive weeks, but he fucked up on Monday night against the Giants. And the Giants, I guess they had a good game, but really the Packers just looked all out of sort. And I think it was because Christian Watson wasn't in the game, but there was real optimism he was going to bounce back against Tampa Bay at home this week. Especially against the Tampa Bay secondary that's been pretty much torched by every quarterback this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a quarterback that was on fire in this game, but it was not Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
It was good old Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield being one of the, I think, only quarterbacks in December to have post the perfect QBR in Lambeau.
Insane.
I mean,
yeah,
Baker's really having himself a year. And I'll tell you one more time, when I was watching the Broncos-Browns game 4 years ago, Baker Mayfield was the starting quarterback, and Denver sucked. I don't know if we had Trevor Siemian or fucking Case Keenum. Case Keenum, actually, I think. But we were awful. And I was watching, and I was like, I think Baker was a rookie. And he looked so talented, dude. He was putting up 40 points, slinging the football. And I was like, why can't we get one like that? It's a bit about Baker. Like, if it was Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow. That's how highly I was on Baker when I was watching him as a rookie and in his first year. Baker has talent. He has talent, and we've seen it. And this was one of those games that it flirts with you a little bit. Do the Bucs need a quarterback next year?
Do they? God, man, I don't know, because he's had some games this season where he looks just like this, and then he has like really terrible games where he is throwing picks in like 2-minute drill type of situations, right? But yesterday against the Packers, or Sunday against the Packers, I'm sorry, he looked really fucking good. 381 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that's their 3rd straight win for the Bucs, who are very much in the division race right now. Baker looked really good against a Packers team who, yes, they're missing Jair Alexander, and I think that's 6 games in a row that Jair Alexander has missed. And their secondary seems to be, or their defense really as a whole seems to be struggling against that because of that, I mean. But the Bucs may not need a quarterback if Baker can lead them to a division title, a winning record, and a possible playoff berth. I feel like if those things happen, they may have to go with Baker next year. Baker's going to be like, well, what else do you want from a quarterback? I just took you to the playoffs, and I still has the possibility of winning the division, right? So depending on what things happen for the Bucs going forward, maybe the Bucs do not need a quarterback next year. They already have one on the roster, and it's Baker Mayfield. Other than Baker, Godwin at 155 yards, 10 catches. Rachaad White caught a score, rushed for 89 yards. And then the Packers. It is 2 losses in a row to pretty mediocre teams. The Giants with DeVito and the Bucs with Baker. Even though the Bucs were on a 2-game winning streak, it's still not something that the Packers as of late should be like losing. These are games that they should not be losing. DeVito goes down the field for a game-winning drive. Baker blows the absolute brakes off these guys. And you're right. Maybe the loss of Christian Watson on the offensive side has been big. Aaron Jones rushed for about, I think, 60 yards or so, and that just wasn't enough. It's still 60 yards of rushing offense, but it just doesn't seem to be enough, like to kind of make up for the loss of Watson. And Love had a really good game. He had 284 yards with 2 touchdowns. So it's not Love. Love is not the problem at this point of the season. It just seems to be the defense and how it's playing. But yeah, man, for Baker to go into Lambeau, we both said it. He's coming from Tampa Bay to Green Bay. Kyle's drinking his own piss, and he still gets the dub, which, by the way, is his first dub against the Packers. I think in Lambeau. I think he's 1-2 now. So third time's a charm for Baker.
Yeah. And he's probably lucky he even got a third time.
Mm-hmm.
Miami Dolphins. They fucking destroyed the Jets. And this game, dude, this was pure domination from the start. I mean, Miami was out to get right after getting embarrassed kind of Monday night against the Titans. And while the Dolphins without Tyreek Hill, it didn't really matter because Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert torched New York's defense. And Vic Fangio, best defensive coordinator in the league, in my opinion. He destroyed the Jets defensively with Bradley Chubb putting together a monster game. Yeah, it was one of those weeks where, Bradley Chubb's going off in Miami and fucking Drew Lock is throwing game-winning picks. It was rough.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Jets got dominated. They're not going to the playoffs. Dolphins beat up on another bad team. Still haven't beat anyone with a winning record, but strength of victory counts. And this was a great game by the Dolphins and something they should feel good about, especially when you consider they didn't have Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to give you 2 stats here. Well, the first one you're really going to like. The Jets have not been shut out since 2021 against your Broncos. They have not been shut out since that game against the Broncos.
I remember that. That was week 2.
Mm-hmm.
That was week 2.
Yep, it was early in the season. And this is the 12th game under Salah that the Jets have not scored a touchdown. The 12th
under
game,
Nathaniel Hackett.
Yes, but who's the head coach who allows Nathaniel Hackett to have a job?
What do you do?
Salah.
It's Rodgers' guy. He's going to be there next year. What do you do?
Isn't that just mind-blowing? 12 games without a touchdown? Like,
oh my God, dude. It is worse than anything.
Yeah, and we both know what that's like to have just anemic offenses, but I feel like me complaining about the Bears, dude, if you're a Jets fan, I am so sorry. Lil E, for example, like
they thought they were going to the Super Bowl when the season started.
Yeah, I had them winning the division. I had them winning the division.
Yeah, dude, I bet them to win the Super Bowl. If you it's so funny because even if they didn't have Aaron Rodgers, we would still feel bad for them for how bad the offense is.
Yes,
but it's just salt in the wound that they were promised the Super Bowl 4 months ago.
Yeah,
and now it's like, oh. No, we're not. Rodgers is gone, but not only that, you guys will be the worst offense in the league. Like, who fucking cursed this Jets team? It's bad.
We talk about how dominant the Dolphins were too. And Salah is a defensive guy. You got to look a few years ago. Salah and Mike McDaniel were on the same coaching staff for the 49ers. One was the offensive or quarterbacks coach or whatever. The other guy was the defensive coordinator in Salah. So and the Jets have looked dominant on defense in games this season, but man, Nathaniel Hackett and his offense, God, they're just tearing Salah down. I don't know what way you go with firings, hirings, letting go. Like, do you let go of Salah? Do you let go of Hackett? But then if you let go of Hackett, does Aaron Rodgers want out? Like, what happens here, right? With Aaron Rodgers coming back. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, stay the fucks out. Let your Achilles heal, because if you come back this season,
it is his Achilles heel.
It is his Achilles heel. Fucking Kyle.
It's his Achilles heel that he's too competitive. He's gonna fuck up his Achilles and not let it heal.
100%, 100%. And the Dolphins, They had a great game. Like you said, Raheem Mostert and Jalen Waddle blew the doors off this defense for the Jets. And what the weird part was, they didn't have 300 yards of total offense. They only had 290. I mean, they were close, but they only had 290 yards of total offense. How efficient as an offense are you that you dominated this team 30-0 and didn't even surpass 300 yards of total offense? Matt Canada is crying a tear somewhere, being like, that could be me. Being like, that could be me.
I've been to Canada.
I've also been to Canada. Oh, 100%.
Awesome.
It's a good time.
Love Canada. I loved it so much. I got a tattoo of their maple leaf.
You're such a dweeb.
No, I'm serious.
Oh, Canada. Yeah, Mostert, Waddle, this entire offense was great, but let's not, like you said, let's not overlook the defense. They had 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles. Just dominant. Without Phillips, a just dominant game overall for this Dolphins team. And, nearing the playoffs, that's exactly what they need their defense to do, exactly what they need their offense to do. And this is a team that going forward, whether they're a division winner or not, I think will be a tough out in the playoffs, regardless of who they play.
Yeah, I think they lose in the first round. Our next game is going to be the New Orleans Saints beating the New York Giants.
Bill,
sorry,
close
Bill.
your eyes.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. There's been so much hype though with Tommy DeVito. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I like Danny DeVito so much more than Danny Dimes or Tommy DeVito, but that's just me.
Combination.
It's such a good Danny DeVito. It goes hard. DeVito, he failed to finish this game. I mean, he took a huge hit in the second quarter. And I saw, sorry, really quick. Did you see that thing about Danny DeVito not going to that local pizza spot because his agent raised his fee from $10,000
his appearance fee? I did see that. He's a bad guy now. Although I don't know.
Villain. I just don't know what's going on with that. But I'm like just scrolling and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I didn't pay close attention to this game because I'm not interested in both of these teams right now. The only thing interesting about the Giants to me is DeVito. I like that story. I always like these guys just, that against the odds and stuff. But the Saints get the win, and no one's going to be like thinking anything about the Saints really. I mean, maybe they win their division, but I think what the Bucs did is definitely way cooler than what the Saints did. And
yes,
Olave was sidelined. He has he's dealing with a rib injury, so they didn't have him. And man, I mean, he is such a dynamic threat. I mean, he's getting 8 to 10 targets a game, and the fact that they were able to win and score over 20 points without him, I think that could be something that's kind of encouraging. But yeah, I don't have a ton on this game, to be honest.
No, and really it kind of just the Giants loss revolved around the DeVito story. It's over. It was cool while it lasted. It was 3 games of just, hey, Tommy Tuds. But the story of him upping his appearance fee is hilarious, and it just adds to like the lore that is Tommy DeVito on the Giants. Only 177 yards for him. Saquon only rushed 14 yards. The entire offense looked out of sync and just bad for the Giants. Tyrod Taylor came in for a few plays because I think DeVito got hit pretty hard. So I just the entire Giants team is looking really bad, just really bad. And like you said, they're not going to make the playoffs. None of this is happening. It's over for them pretty much at the end of this. But the Saints, they finally look like a team that wants to win a division title, that maybe wants to win some games that are maybe like, hey, let's go into the playoffs.
Who that say they gonna beat them Saints? Texans, Titans.
Really anybody with a winning record. But
anyone in the NFC.
Carr looked really good in this game. And this is a couple weeks after being booed from his own home crowd.
Boo this man.
Boo this man. So he looked a little bit better, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns. This was without Olave, by the way, so he was kind of spreading the ball around to his guys. And the defense for the Saints, again, another huge performance. Yes, it's against a very bad Giants offensive line, but they had 7 sacks against these quarterbacks. So you got to give credit to the defense as well. I feel like I have not been giving a lot of credit to defenses throughout our week recaps. So trying to do as much as I can with the defenses because they are a huge part of the game. And in this case, the Saints win 24-6. The defense came in clutch.
Yeah. And this next game is there's 2 teams that start with a T and they're in the same division. The Texans and the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they have the same amount of letters as well. For most of this game, it seemed like Houston's playoff hopes were going to disintegrate as the Titans were going to upset them. They had to go with Case Keenum. So, I mean, you got CJ Stroud right there watching, all the work he's put into this team crumble with a Case Keenum bad pick 6 where he was looking right at his receiver fucking the whole play and threw that pick 6. And it did seem like the Texans weren't going to be able to capitalize on CJ Stroud's season because of this injury, but they're able to come back into this game. Tennessee couldn't get anything going in this game because Derrick Henry had no running room, which I'm very aware of because I had him starting on my fantasy football team. With no run support, Levis really struggled, though, to keep drives alive. He went 17 for 26 for 199 yards and had a pick. He was worse than Keenum, who went 23 for 36 for 229 and a touchdown, and the pick that we just talked about.
Yeah.
But unlike Levis, Keenum had some running support. Singletary had 121 yards on 26 carries. Damian Pierce 1 carry for 3 yards. Nowhere to be found, but Singletary kind of came in clutch in this game. And Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks is probably an infamous receiver because he's the reason AJ Brown is in Philly. I mean, this is
Bad
AJ
move.
Brown's replacement. Terrible move, but he did lead the way in this game. So the star receiver in this game, he had 3 catches, 62 yards. So DeAndre Hopkins was a big disappointment as well in this game, especially if you started him in your fantasy. He only had 2 catches, but he did have 9 targets for 21 yards. But overall, Houston's going to get CJ Stroud back, and they're going to be just fine. But one of these teams isn't going to be able to get in, and it's just really interesting trying to see, as the season progresses, and a lot of good teams in the AFC, who's going to get left out. And it's going to be a couple good teams for sure.
100%, because the AFC is just so damn competitive. And what I want to talk about mostly in this game, Derrick Henry. He had 16 rushes for 9 yards, 4 catches for 1 yard. That is 10 yards on 20 touches. Derrick Henry had 10 fucking yards this entire game for the Titans. The Texans were missing a lot of pieces. Nico Collins, CJ Stroud, obviously, Will Anderson on the defense. They're a dynamic rookie defensive end. And there was just no sign of Derrick Henry in this game offensively at all. That is just, to me, it's a mind-blowing stat for Derrick Henry to only have 10 yards, but had 20 total touches of the ball. Is it like, if you're listening to this, if you're seeing that stat, you're like, that's absolutely insane. Because Tennessee with Levis, he had a tough game. He had a really tough game, Levis. But you have Derrick Henry there, and even though you have some receivers there in Tennessee, you've got Derrick Henry there, and he only got 10 yards on 20 touches. Kyle, isn't that like an amazing fucking stat?
No.
Like it's amazing in the sense that we thought we would never see something like that, especially from a guy of Derrick Henry's like just offensive excellence. Other than that, man, it was just a very mediocre game for the Titans. And yet somehow this game went to overtime. And the Texans had to win it in OT with a field goal kick from Fairbarns. And I mentioned Nico Collins, Will Anderson, CJ Stroud obviously out for the Texans, but Case Keenum still came through in the clutch, man. And like you said, there's going to be a couple teams in this AFC conference that are going to be out. Texans are getting CJ Stroud back, like you said. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to predict who it is, but the Texans come out with a win, and they're going to get CJ Stroud back with that win with a backup quarterback. They're looking pretty decent right now.
Boo! Bad
Boo!
take. Everybody put a dog shit in the chat for Rick. Terrible take. Yeah, man. It's funny because one of these, like I said, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
I'll tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be the Chiefs that are left out of this whole playoff ordeal that's about to start. The Chiefs were double-digit favorites in this game, but I would say their offensive problems didn't really stop. They had countless drops, mental mistakes, not just in this game, but all year. They continued to shoot themselves in the foot in this game. An offensive pass interference negated a significant gain that was followed up by an intentional grounding call on Patrick Mahomes.
Oof.
The Chiefs then had Mahomes come out and throw a pick. Wasn't his fault because the New England linebacker was able to wrestle the ball away from Blake Bell, but you just see that there's still something not firing right about this Chiefs team. And the Patriots, they didn't get the win, but they weren't far from it. I mean, they were playing a close game the whole time. It was 10-7 in the second quarter. I mean, this wasn't the game that you're like feeling great about, but it's the NFL. You almost scored 30 points. You were on the road. I think this is something that Kansas City can be happy about. And I also think this is a game that they will build on in the next couple weeks. I think the Chiefs only get better from here, but they needed a win no matter what it looked like.
Yeah. And while they did have a lot of mental mistakes, you saw that Rashee Rice for the Chiefs is like, that's going to be Mahomes' go-to from here on out. It's not going to be Kelsey, although it might still be, right? But Rashee Rice, in terms of wide receivers, is going to be his go-to guy. 91 yards and 1 touchdown. All the bad press the receivers have gotten on the Chiefs side has been 100% earned because of drops, mistakes, offensive offsides, which started an entire fucking
domino effect.
Domino effect. Yes, thank you. An entire domino effect of offensive offside calls by the refs. But Rashee Rice seems to be that guy now for Patrick Mahomes that can maybe be that, like, all right, I can throw it to Rashee Rice and he can do something with this, or I know he's going to be open, right? Maybe it's going to be his next Tyreek Hill. You had Isaiah Pacheco out of this game, and yet Edwards-Helaire and McKinnon were pretty dynamic and pretty good in this game. I mean, McKinnon threw and caught a touchdown in this game. So
Jaron McKinnon is the third Chiefs player ever with a TD and a receiving in the same game, along with Tyler Thigpen and Curtis McClinton in this episode of How to Make It About Denver, 1963 against the Denver Broncos. I had to splash this in right here.
I love it. And it was right as I was saying it too. So perfect timing. So you had those backup running backs with Isaiah Pacheco out, make up for it. Mahomes threw 2 interceptions in this game. Like you said, the offense didn't look like the well-oiled machine we've seen the Chiefs to be, but they were still able to get those next guy up moments from Rashee Rice, from Edwards-Helaire, and from McKinnon. So I think it's just going to continue, like you said, for the Chiefs to get better. The Patriots have lost 6 of 7. Zappy threw a touchdown, had 180 yards through the air.
Zappy.
So that's cool. Like that's cool. Ramondre Stevenson was out for the Patriots, so there was basically all their offense. The Patriots just kind of spiraling down, but they should keep their head up because, like you said, this was a close game against a very tough Chiefs defense and offense, really, at the end of the day.
If they don't keep their head up, then they're not going to see the notification when Belichick gets fired, which is going to be a very interesting day for New England and a great day for the Chargers. All
Mhm.
right. You're like, oh, okay, you're not gonna let this go. No, I'm pretty much like
No, fuck the Chiefs though.
I wanted them to roll it Staley for a long time, man.
I bet.
did not.
Yeah.
All right. So those are our 1:00 games.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're gonna go into our late window, my favorite. Because
My
this
favorite.
all right, so we're gonna go into the shit that I love. I'm talking about the
Talking about the motherfucking 49.
talking about the motherfucking Rams. What? Why does that say that? I'm so sorry. Why does it still say that? I clicked it.
You dumb.
No, dude, I swear I did not even type this.
Canceled. Canceled. Everybody throwing a canceled in the chat.
I didn't even write it. Oh my god, dude, this is hilarious.
Stupid autocorrect or whatever.
Okay.
Did you mean Redskins?
No, Siri. Oh god. Okay. That is so weird, but we'll talk about that after the show. Matthew Stafford led a field goal drive to get LA to a quick lead. Washington got moving, chunk plays to Terry McLaurin. Look, I thought I was going to start Sam Howell, and then when Justin Fields had 9 points, I was like, oh my God, I made a mistake, and then he ends up with 8. I will say right now, Stafford, who went 25 for 33, 258, and 2 touchdowns. Kyren Williams ran for $152 on 27 carries, but he had 2 fumbles. But it doesn't matter when you run for $150, in my opinion, as long as you get a couple touchdowns. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, well, he only had 1 touchdown, but still, if you have at least 1, I think 150 yards makes up for 1, and the touchdown makes up for the second.
He's probably got like 5 in the last 3 games alone, too.
Oh no! I hope he might be a Melvin Gordon.
No!
They come from LA, dude. He was a Charger. I think the Rams are a serious team. I think they're ready to compete, and I think they're going to be in the playoffs, and I think they're going to be a frisky playoff team because Matthew Stafford is playing football at a very high level. He is playing exactly at the same level he was when they won the Super Bowl. And yes, they don't have that same team, so I don't think they win the Super Bowl. But as long as they still have Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, the continuity and the talent, and now you're seeing guys like Kyren Williams, Cooper Kupp. We already know what Puka Nacua is becoming. I mean, I think this team could go all the way to an NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I'd be coming too. So the Commanders definitely made this a game late in the fourth quarter, and that was after making the switch from Sam Howell to Jacoby Brissett, which is a name we haven't said in a while. I think since last year when he was on the Browns, right? Is when he made a start or something like that for Deshaun Watson or whenever it was. Jacoby Brissett totaled and then exceeded 3 quarters worth of Sam Howell stats in like 2 drives. And he led those 2 drives to 2 touchdowns. Those last 2 drives were their 2 touchdown drives, which made it a game for the Commanders in the fourth quarter. The Rams were able, though, to come out with a win, 28-20. And that was, like you said, behind Matthew Stafford, Kyren Williams, Cooper Kupp, Robinson. This whole team is looking very, very good as a whole right now for the Rams. And you said it. As long as they have Sean McVay, Stafford, Aaron Donald, there on the defense, they got newcomers of Kyren Williams and Puka Nacua. Like, these guys are going to be pretty damn good going into the playoffs. And you know, to be honest, I feel pretty confident that they are going to get a wild card spot. They're not going to get the West, obviously, but I feel pretty confident in them getting a wild card spot at this point with the way they've been playing. The Commanders, though, on the other side, Sam Howell looked rough. Bieniemy at the beginning of the season, we're like, holy shit, look what he's doing with a no-namer Sam Howell quarterback. I don't know what's going on as of recently. I don't know if Ron Rivera being the coach is something to do with what's being called on the offense or how the offense is performing. But maybe it's a Sam Howell problem at this point. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he's got an injury that's lingering or something like that.
Maybe he's faking an injury.
Maybe he's faking an injury and he wants to be traded to a big market team. Because look what Jacoby Brissett was able to do in 2 fucking drives.
Let's start him over Justin Herbert.
I mean, at this point, shit, why not?
I think he's going to be great. He reminds me of Baker.
Yeah, he could very well be like a Baker, or he could very well be a franchise quarterback for the Commanders, moving forward. Either way, the Rams look damn good late in the season, and this is exactly what you want if you're a Rams fan. It's just great for them, and regardless of the fumbles from Kyron, regardless of what happened earlier in mid-season for the Rams, they look good now. They're in the hunt not in the hunt, but they're in the playoff right now. They're doing a playoff push. Again, I'm confident in them getting in there.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford really passing the eyeball test. Just watching him play, he looked like he was in just such a rhythm on Sunday. And here's some stats to back up that rhythm. Stafford completed 16 of 17 passes Sunday when he was in rhythm, throwing between 2.5 and 4 seconds for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns, with plus 23.3 completion percentage over expected. So making really tight window throws and completing 16 of 17 of them for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, basically. Stafford leads the NFL in expected passing yards and success rate. So since he returned in week 11 from his injury, he is playing arguably the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Brock Purdy playing at a high level. I would have him above him. And then I definitely got Dak Prescott. I'm not done on him because of a game. But Matthew Stafford, the stats back it up. He's in some kind of rhythm right now, and he's getting hot. And he is at the age where he knows it doesn't matter what kind of season you have. All that matters is if you can play your best football in the month of December. Stafford's been around long enough to know that if he plays at a high level and this team gets hot in December and they go into the playoffs on a 5-game winning streak or a 4-game winning streak, it would be, that anything could happen at that point. And if you have a franchise quarterback, like a top 10 quarterback, and if he's playing at a top 3 level, then yeah, the ceiling is wherever you want to put it. I mean, that's what happens when you have the best quarterback play. Best quarterback play usually equates to a Super Bowl. If you look at, you have your odd seasons with, Manning's last year or maybe Eli Manning. But for the most part, if you have a top 2 quarterback in the NFL, you definitely feel like you have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. It's almost a disappointment when you don't, like the Packers with Aaron Rodgers on those MVP seasons. So I think Stafford knows what's at stake here. I think he knows his days are numbered, and I think he's going to go out swinging. And I think for him, he wants one more ring, and he's playing like it.
Ooh. The recipe for success, though. You're right. You're 100% correct.
Recipe for success. Our next game is the one that we're going to talk about really quick because we just mentioned it. Dak Prescott not having his best game by any means. But the Bills, we both picked them to win. The Bills were actually the favorite to win this game. The Cowboys haven't been good on the road. The Bills have been on fire since losing that Monday night game to the Broncos in embarrassing fashion, if you remember that one, because it was a penalty that really got Denver that win. That should have been a Buffalo win. Okay, so they really what are we really looking at right now? We're looking at a Bills team that should be 4-0 since 5-0 now since that embarrassing game where they fired Ken Dorsey. So right now, I think the Bills have to be one of the scariest teams in the NFL, the way they're playing and what they've really done. I've seen a lot of videos on this. What Buffalo's done is they just put the ball back in Josh Allen's hand in all the important moments. Big 3rd down conversion, we're going to throw. 4th and 1, Josh Allen's running. You're seeing them using him a lot, and he's definitely put the Bills on his back. Dallas had no answer for Buffalo's pass rush as well. The Bills, not normally a team you think of with a crazy pass rush, at least not this year. But they swarmed Prescott in this game, and that's why the Cowboys were able to achieve only 14 first downs in the entire game compared to 28 for Buffalo. They controlled time of possession. They ran the freaking football.
Yeah, they did.
Where did that come from? I mean, you had Cook having an all-time, like a career game, really.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's ever had a game like it. Everything for Buffalo right now seems like it's clicking, and I think
Mhm.
for Bills Mafia, they're definitely believing that they can win the Super Bowl. They're back. You got Josh Allen. You got this team playing good football, beating the Cowboys, beating the Chiefs, beating. They're going to win out, and they're going to be a playoff team that people aren't going to want to play. And they'll definitely win at probably a playoff game.
Yeah, and Josh Allen in his post-game conference, he said, "I feel like the kid in the group project that doesn't do anything but still gets an A." He had 9 completed passes, something like that. And it's
7
because
for 15, yeah.
7 for 15. Like, it's ridiculous because that's not usually what the recipe for the offense is for the Bills. But because James Cook had such a ridiculously good game, they didn't need to do much through the air. So it sucks if you had what's his name, Stephon Diggs on your fantasy squad during the playoffs because he didn't do shit. James Cook, 179 rush yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, 42 yards, and a touchdown. In the 4 games with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator, Cook is averaging 21 touches, 141 yards per game. Buffalo has also averaged 171 rushing yards per game since Brady started calling games. So all of this stuff is really just a product of Joe Brady being able to say, you know what, we don't need to win it on Allen's arm, which is something that they've been trying to do the last 3-4 years. Instead, we have a good running back in James Cook. Let's use this fucking guy. And look what happens when you do that. All those yards, 2 touchdowns, like he's able to be that guy for the Bills. You don't need Josh Allen to be that guy when you have a guy like James Cook. You have Stephon Diggs, you have Gabriel there. And if you need them, fucking use them. But when you have a guy like James Cook against the Cowboys in this case, and he's doing as well as he has, don't abandon the run. Don't abandon giving him the ball. What is something we always say, Kyle, during streams? Get this guy the fucking ball in space. This guy can make something happen. That's what Joe Brady's doing. That's what Ken Dorsey failed to do as the offensive coordinator for the Bills. Now, the Cowboys on the other side. They were dominated again for the third time this season, and they looked bad. We're talking about the 49ers, this game, and even the Cardinals. They looked bad, right? Like way early in the season. I'm talking about like week 3, week 4, whatever it was.
They looked like dog shit.
They look like absolute dog shit. Dallas is 3-4 on the road. They need to win the division for a home game in the playoffs. They absolutely need it. It is very essential for them to win it because on the road, they're 3-4. They averaged 21.7 points versus almost 40 points at home. They averaged 19 points against teams above 500. And that was just no different today against the Bills. So Dak Prescott and the entire offense, it looked rough. There was a garbage time touchdown by CeeDee Lamb in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter, and that's all they could do. The defense for the Cowboys looked just overmatched. Credit James Cook and credit the coaching staff for building such a great game plan against this Cowboys team. But the Cowboys, man, I think they really, really need to win this division in order to get that home game, because if they have a away game against a top team in the NFC, it might look just like this game.
Yeah, dude. I I think if anybody's being honest with themselves, they don't want to play Buffalo right now.
Yeah,
and
true.
For Buffalo, they're definitely going to win out. And you start looking and you're like, okay, well, is there a chance that, because Miami has some tough games coming up, and one of those games, Buffalo's going to play Miami. So if they win out, what would be their record if they won out? They're 8-6 right now, so they would be 11-6. And Miami,
that's a good record.
Yeah, no, that's a great record. And then you have Miami, here they are. Miami's 10-4. So you got the loss to Buffalo, assuming, right?
Mhm.
And Miami, I believe they have to play the Ravens now.
Mhm.
So Miami loses to the Ravens, they lose to Buffalo. All of a sudden, Miami's a wild card team. Oh,
Yeah.
holy shit, right? I mean,
Yep.
this is gonna get weird here. And Buffalo's definitely, they're gonna give Miami a run for their money. Miami, it's kind of like dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. Like
The
you gotta make
Dolphins
sure.
coming for you.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's see what games have we gone through. Here we go.
We got one more.
One more game. Is it the Sunday night football game?
Nope. 49ers at the Cardinals.
Oh,
yeah.
49ers.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Brock Purdy, MVP.
Dude, he looked great in this game.
Did you hear what he said after the game? They asked him about like
MVP?
should he win MVP?
He said CMC, right?
He said CMC. He was literally like, yeah, I think I heard Rich Eisen take on this, and I'm not even going to talk about the game. I'll let you do that. But I just want to talk about the Brock Purdy thing for a second, because Rich Eisen he's so well spoken. He was talking about how Cam Newton, who is a very respected quarterback in this league and won an MVP, but he was on his podcast and he called Brock Purdy a game manager.
Such a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, and and it seems like Cam, he has earned the right to talk about it. His opinion matters. He played football. I mean, we didn't. I mean, not at the level where he did. So he definitely, gets some respect. But at the same time, like, he's wrong. He's wrong about this one. And Rich Eisen said that they showed pictures of Brock Purdy on the field because it was his homecoming, because he grew up in Arizona. So even though this game was in Arizona, he had a ton of family there, and they were showing him like in Pop Warner playing on that field. And Rich Eisen goes, if you would have just put him in like his high school years, if he was wearing, if you would have said that picture was pregame, I would have believed you. Like, he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And he was saying right now you got Brock Purdy just kind of like, announcing that he's in the room when he walks in, kind of timid, walking in the door. Hey, can I open the fridge? He's like, as soon as Brock Purdy, like, really is like, gets that dog in him, like, I am him. Because right now he is him. But when him believes he's him, like when Brock Purdy starts walking a little bit more confidently, when he walks in the room, he's like, what's up, motherfuckers? When he's not known as the 7th round last pick, not known as a tiny skinny little guy that's just game managing. No, that dude is a fucking competitor, and he will fuck you up on the football field. Like,
fuck you up.
I will fuck you in the mouth. But dude, I mean, I couldn't agree with it more. You do have Brock Purdy still kind of young and just kind of happy to be here mentality. And like, I think Brock Purdy is going to turn a corner, and it's going to put the NFL on notice. And I think he's going to be a dangerous quarterback for the next 20 years, or at least the next 17 years, something like that. He's a very good quarterback. Brock Purdy deserves to win the MVP. I told this to Southpaw, I think, but I said Dak deserves it too. But I think if it's a toss-up between Dak and the 49ers, I think whoever team is the number 1 seed should win the award, and I think it'll be the 49ers.
Can't agree more.
Can't agree more, Kyle. I think as someone who came into this team, as a 3rd stringer, 7th round, last pick, whatever the fuck, whatever his story is, and got to the NFC Championship last year, has led them to a division title, or is going to lead them to a division title. I'm pretty sure they've already clinched the division, and is a force, as at quarterback. We talk all the time about teams with ridiculous weapons, and yet the coaching and the quarterback play has just been the death of them. That's one of the arguments that's being made. What about other weapons around Purdy? He's a game manager. He's not a fucking game manager. what are all these other quarterbacks doing with all the same weapons, if not
What did Nick
potential?
Mullins?
Yeah, they have potential weapons on all these teams. We're talking even like the Bears, for example, Cole Kmet, Mooney, DJ Moore. You've got a couple good running backs there. You've got guys with the potential to be a Deebo Samuel, to be a CMC, to be a Ayuk, to be a Kittle. But if you don't have the quarterback play or the coach, then what the fuck do you have? You have a bunch of shiny things that don't do shit. That's exactly what you got. Purdy for MVP should not be something that
Atlanta.
Yeah, you have Atlanta, right? Like Purdy for MVP should not be something that is highly debated because he's a game manager. Yes, Cam Newton has to have his say because he's a quarterback. He played in the league. He's won an MVP. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's had very dominant seasons.
It's literally bullying. Because if you remove Brock Purdy and put any other Tom Brady, nobody has this conversation. So really, the only reason the conversation happening, in my opinion, 90% of it is because of the way he looks. And that's legitimately what bullying is like taking credentials away from somebody because of the way they appear, not what they do on the field.
He's not putting up stat sheets that are ridiculous. Sorry, he's on a dominant offensive type of team. My God, I'm sorry he doesn't have game-winning drives like Tom Brady in his first full season as a starter. Yeah. Sorry, he's not playing from behind in the fourth quarter. Like, what the fuck do you guys want? Cam Newton has all those accolades and he's played in the NFL for as many years. But guess what? Cam Newton, you're wrong. Regardless of whether you want to agree with that or not, whether I have never played in the NFL, whether I don't know what it goes through a quarterback or a coaching staff type of deal on an NFL team, you're wrong. And I don't think I'm the only person, we're the only people saying that Cam Newton is wrong. Cam Newton's wrong. He's just, like you said, he's just a fucking hater, man.
He does come off as like kind of like bitter. And we all know that he's not happy with how he exited the NFL because
not at all.
He's still, he's still encouraging like people to reach out to him or like they thought about calling Cam Newton. He's still entertaining all of that, which tells you that he hasn't fully turned the page. And a lot of times when people don't turn the page to the next chapter, it's because they're hanging on to something in the past. And I think that is just wanting, maybe your career to be more, wanting to win a Super Bowl, wanting to be in the position Brock Purdy's in right now. I mean, there's a lot of reason to hate, but don't.
Yeah, it's just regret from Cam Newton's side. And it really is that type of like, hey man, you had your time. You were a great college football quarterback. You won an MVP and went to a Super Bowl, or I don't know if he won an MVP. I forget if he did win an MVP. But you had a really good career when you played football. Let the other people. He did win MVP. Okay, he did win MVP.
He went 15-1, and when he went to the Super Bowl, they were averaging like 38 points a game.
Okay. Yeah, so then like dude, you got accolades while you were in the league. You didn't get your dub in the Super Bowl. You got a
dab in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Dan Marino also didn't get a dub. You got a bunch of Hall of Fame quarterbacks who don't have dubs in the Super Bowl. That's just how
Dan Marino didn't get a dub.
Dan Marino didn't get a dub.
So we're just going to get a shirt that says Dan Marino didn't get a dub with Dan Marino flipping us off.
So I don't at this point, I don't even want to talk about the game. It was just an absolute domination by the 49ers. But to say that Brock Purdy doesn't deserve an MVP nod, that Dak Prescott is doing all these things, again, all things can be factual. That Brock Purdy deserves an MVP nod and what Dak has done with the Cowboys has been stellar, or what Jalen Hurts has done, even like other quarterbacks, what did they have done? Tyreek Hill almost getting to 2,000 yards in receiving yards in a season. That's also all very impressive, but to just shit on Purdy for having weapons when every quarterback in the league would want exactly what he wants, we'd be saying the same shit about anybody in that situation. So leave that shit in the loser talk table that you come from and join the big grown-ups table to talk about how MVP is actually judged. Cocksuckers.
And you heard it here first.
Are we finished or are we done?
Is angry. He is pissed. And so is everybody in Duval. The Jaguars have had struggles going into this game with recent losses to the Bengals and Browns. However, they had a chance to right the ship against the Ravens, who are the number 1 seed right now. So they get a win, they get a loss that would have tightened the race. But based on how I saw them play, they'll be lucky if they even win a playoff game this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Jaguars, man, that fumble from Trevor Lawrence when he was running the left side. What happened there? Trevor Lawrence, I think,
Dude.
since 2021 being the starter, has had the second most fumbles by a quarterback in the league. And it's just like, holy shit, he cannot protect the ball. We talk about Josh Allen and his kryptonite being the interception. For Trevor Lawrence, it's the fumble, man. He is just not he's just not able to protect the ball, and the Jaguars are suffering because of it.
Yeah, I think when you look at this Ravens team, they're looking like the real deal. I mean, it still feels like I don't know. I don't want to say that they haven't been tested, because they're definitely battle tested, because they got the win against the Rams last week, and that was a really, really good game. A lot of back and forth. But the Jags are just making too many mistakes, man. They reach Baltimore's 36-yard line or further on 4 straight drives at one point and came away with 0 points. You go past the 36 4 times straight, by the way, and you come away with no points. Yeah, you had 2 missed field goals by Brandon McManus at 55 and 52 or something like that. It doesn't say. But they were pretty far field goals. But at the end, that's on Trevor Lawrence. You can't throw that football. You cannot throw that football. You have to understand this is going in the end zone or it's going nowhere. You just can't throw shallow of a touchdown in that moment. And honestly, they shouldn't have even ran a play. There's no reason to. You have less time than you have downs. You just got a first down. Spike the ball. Go talk to Doug. Hurry up. Don't get a delay of game, but you can reset. And I just felt like that's something that you should all know at this point. This isn't. You're not in high school. My high school quarterback did this in real life, and that whole where you have to rush up and spike the ball. And I remember I was surprised that he I was like, oh my God, he must be nervous, because I was a freshman just watching, and I saw him run up and spike do exactly what you're supposed to do. So if high school quarterbacks can do it, even ones that don't even go on to college, Trevor Lawrence can definitely do it. And the Jags I had really high expectations for them, but once again, I said it in the recap, Trevor Lawrence is injured, and he is a great quarterback. I mean, he is a franchise quarterback, a guy you can build around. Clearly, something's not right fully with the fact that he's even playing in these games is mind-blowing, but they haven't won any of them. So maybe, I don't know. I mean, you're not going to bench him, obviously, but
absolutely not. No,
I just don't know if he's at 100% right now. And if it's not as serious as that, then that's even more alarming, because it's like, okay, then what is going on? To me, man, I still believe any team that gets a ticket to the dance in the playoffs, any team has a chance of beating Baltimore. I would not be like Baltimore. I got Baltimore winning against everyone, even though I have them, making the Super Bowl. I still in the predictions may not take them, right? That's just my Super Bowl thing. Leave it, it's separate almost. If Denver plays Baltimore in the first round of the playoffs, I like it. You know what I mean? I'm not like Denver's going to get crushed. So there's still a part of me that does not fear Baltimore as a football team. Some of that might be Lamar Jackson only having 1 playoff win in his whole career. And the other side of it is I watch Baltimore play, and Lamar Jackson at times looks bad, man. Like he doesn't just, I don't know. He doesn't look as good as he did when he was an MVP. He doesn't move around as well. He doesn't run as much. He throws some questionable balls. I mean, you saw it with me. I mean, we were watching it together. I mean, we were like, what is that? How many times were we doing that? And I think there shouldn't be that many of those moments with a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, there is times during this offense, like play calling and stuff like that, where I'm just kind of like, what was that supposed to be? Where was that supposed to go? Just what? That's the big question, is like, what? So like you said, like the Ravens don't necessarily scare me either in the playoffs, but they're able to win games, man. And really, I think it's the defense. And I almost dare to say it is Lamar Jackson that's winning these games for them, even though there are plays. Like, I feel like Lamar Jackson in games is like 50% what? And why aren't you running? And why did you do that? And then 50% like,
Wow.
That was a
Yeah.
hell of a fucking pass in the end zone, this and that, rushing in.
He's great.
Like, yeah, like it's 50-50 every
Those are
game.
my brothers.
Those are my brothers. So I that's what I feel it's like with Lamar. And just week in, week out, man, it's just like, is that 50% going to be 49 on the wow or 49 on the what? Right? Like, wow, what? Like, where do you get that extra 1% where you're going to go over the top and get a dub as the Ravens and the Jaguars? With the Colts being as good as they are, doing what they're doing, it's looking a bit tighter there in that AFC South divisional race. So the Jaguars got to figure something out, and they got to figure something out quick. Are we going to bench Trevor Lawrence? Is Trevor Lawrence in these next 3 weeks that going to get us that much better to a division title? And even if he does, we're not going to get the number 1 seed. We're not going to get a bye. Will he still be healthy in those 3 weeks and into the following week for a playoff? So there's a lot of things going on there with Trevor Lawrence, like you said, with the injury that happened and him not being 100%. So they've got a lot of question marks, I think, these next 3 weeks going into the playoffs for the Jags. And hopefully they can continue to win the division, because that's who I had winning the AFC South. But if it comes at the cost of Trevor Lawrence and being that much better, I don't know what you want to do these next 3 weeks if you're Doug Peterson.
Rick's like, there's like 50% this, 50% that. And then when we get in the playoffs, it's like, what's going to be 49 and what's going to be 51%? And I'm like,
whoop-de-doo. What does it all mean, Basil?
That was our recap of week 15. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did.
Mm-hmm.
Rick, what are we about to do?
Just a little something that I think everybody knows. Kyle, we're about to go into our
top 5, no debating. Top 5.
Got
top
it.
5. Top 5. Kyle?
Top 5.
Top 5.
Our favorite segment, and as you say every week, our most controversial, even though we've been agreeing a lot lately ever since you.
Fuck you, Kyle.
So in the beginning of the season, I had Cleveland in my top 5. It was probably around week 5. And exact words, fuck you. Impulsive. Didn't even mean it. But yeah, man, this has changed a lot this year, and I know mine has changed a lot today. So let's get right into it. You started last week, right?
No, you started last week. So I will start this week.
Okay.
My number 5 in our top five going into week 16 is going to be the Cowboys. The Cowboys take a tumble going into week 16. You want to talk mothers? They looked bad, man. They looked really, really bad. And yes, it's the Bills. Yes, it's their 4th loss of the season. And really their only other time that they get dominated this season. The thing that scares me is what they're doing against teams above 500, what they're doing on the road, and what they're doing at home. Like, it's crazy the differences that the Cowboys are at home and away versus 500 versus below 500. It's crazy to me. I'm not going to sit here and devalue what they've done beating teams by 3 scores. Not at all. And that's why they remain in my top 5. But as of recently and what the stats show of the Cowboys, it's getting scary. So that's why the Cowboys are my number 5.
All right. At number 5, I have the Detroit Lions. No, I don't. I had Detroit last week at number 5. This week at number 5, I have the Buffalo Bills. That's right.
Oh,
Josh
yeah.
Allen and the Buffalo Bills are playing some of the best football, in my opinion. This is week to week. And right now, I think Buffalo, if you had to make a list of 3 teams you don't want to play right now, Buffalo's probably on that list. So having them at 5 to me is not that crazy. Josh Allen is looking like Josh Allen. The Bills are looking like the Bills. I think they're going to win out and finish 11-6 and be a real threat. I think the only direction they may move from now to the end of the season is up.
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. My number 4 is going to be the Chiefs. And Kyle's going to hate this pick. I've got the Chiefs
No, you
at
don't.
number 4, still leading the division, getting wins however they need to get
How
them.
high is Buffalo?
However they need to get him. Rashee Rice is emerging as a wide receiver. McKinnon and Edwards-Helaire are coming up off the bench. Not really off the bench, but next man up. Mahomes is still able to get these dubs when needed, even against really mediocre teams like the Patriots. I got the Chiefs at number 4.
Dude, what?
Yep.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
All right. I can't wait to see where Buffalo is. All right. At number 4, I have the Detroit Lions. The Lions are playing great football. They're the most talented running back in the NFL duo. You got Montgomery mixed with Jahmyr Gibbs. They're looking great. They had a great bounce back win. Sam Laporta is making history this year. He's a real threat. You had all those turnovers in previous weeks. I was not where Detroit never left my top 5 because I didn't worry about it as much because they were losing games, but they were turning the ball over so much. It's like, okay, once you stop the turnovers, you'll start winning again. And they did. They didn't have a turnover and they dominated that game. And defensively, they played really, really good flying around the ball. Young playmakers everywhere. Aiden Hutchinson is a game wrecker. This team has the potential to all of it. So Detroit, number 4.
And Detroit's actually going to be my number 3 on my top 5 here. All the things you said.
Shit. Yeah, Buffalo at 2.
All the things you said about the Lions. Jared Goff not giving the ball away. They can clinch the division week 16 if they beat the Vikings with Laporta there, with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, with Jared Goff not turning the ball over. This can very much be week 16 Lions clinching the division and getting a home playoff spot. So I've got the Lions at my number 3.
All right. And number 3, I have the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys, they lost. It is what it is. They still have a 40 point per game average at home. Based on how many games they have won. There's a good chance that they're going to be playing these games at home. I think this is a really good time of the year for them to realize, oh shit, we're still fucked up because every time they have these moments, they get way better. They got better when it happened against the 49ers. And that's why they just dominated the Eagles. And I think it was just tough trip, tough road trip. They got out handled. I mean, when you run the football for 160 yards, there's not much you can do. And Dallas definitely needs to focus on stopping the run because they were doing that. And it was really kind of taking Micah Parsons out of the game. And, but I trust the defensive coordinator, not Dan Campbell, Dan,
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I can see him. I'm looking at him.
Dan Zul.
Oh, they brought back Dan. I was trying to trick myself to getting it. Did you just see the Cowboys brought back Dan
Campbell?
No. Okay. You guys know what I'm talking about. We'll clip this. But yeah, we will. I think they're going to be able to get their problems fixed. And I still think that they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, if they go out and just dominate on Sunday, this game is just, that's the thing about the NFL. It's not college. One game is 0-1. That's all it is. We don't judge teams based on, or they don't lose an opportunity to make the playoffs based on their loss. Like whether you lose to the Bills or you lose to the Panthers, it all means the same thing. It's just one game. I think they're going to bounce back quick.
Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
So Cowboys at number 3 for Kyle. My number 2 is going to be the Ravens at number 2. Lamar Jackson and this Ravens defense and this team is just, again, top of the AFC, top of their division, most wins. They just beat the Jaguars. And yes, Trevor Lawrence may be hurt. There may be something wrong with the Jaguars play calling there at the before the halftime. Shit rolled their way. The Ravens are my number 2. And yes, I talked about specifically not being scared of them in the playoffs, but that does not mean that they cannot get to the Super Bowl on their own merit. Ravens, number 2.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because I hate the Ravens. I got the Ravens at 2. I think that they're playing good football right now. Offense is looking good. Best team in the AFC right now. Home field advantage. Great environment for playoff football. Insanely good fans. It's going to be hard to beat Baltimore in the playoffs if they're going to be at home for all of their games. Everybody in the AFC better start hoping that they start dropping a couple. I'd rather go to Miami and play the Dolphins than go to Baltimore and play the Ravens.
100%. All right, Kyle. 3, 2, 1.
Broncos.
49ers. I love how every week one of us says another team and one of us says the right team. The 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers. That's why I got the shirt on.
The 49ers are rolling, man. We talked about Brock Purdy for MVP. We talked about CMC being Brock Purdy's MVP. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, that entire fucking team. The only thing that worried me about the 49ers was letting up 29 points to the Cardinals. And sometimes that's going to happen. Kyler Murray is going to be able to rush. But as long as the offense is doing what it's been doing, 49ers are going to roll, man. They're going to get a first round bye. They're going to get the home playoffs all throughout the playoffs in San Francisco. So it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Shout out Nick Bosa. Yeah, I think the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Brock Purdy's going to win the Super Bowl and the MVP in only his second year in the NFL. This is going to be a crazy year for Brock Purdy, but he seems to have his head screwed on right. I don't think it's going to change him at all. I think he's just going to get better every year. And Kyle Shanahan has a new toy.
100.
Can't agree more.
100% can't agree more. And that
new toy.
And that was
Top 5, no debating. Top 5.
All right, Kyle. Let's get it a little different here. You know, we've done the playoff picture. We've seen what's happening last week. We've talked about the record and stuff like that, but let's talk about some contenders and pretenders who are either in the wild card spots or on the outside looking in. Do you want to do AFC, Kyle, or NFC first?
Okay. Well, I'll try to keep these under. You want to rapid? Do them kind of rapid, and
sure.
then I'll ask you. Okay. So you give me a team.
All right, we'll start AFC. And I mean, I think I got to start off with, I think we know who, the Broncos, Kyle. You are the expert. You're the fan. The Broncos right now are 7-6, or 7-7. I'm sorry. And they are currently, I believe, on the outside looking in at the 11th seed, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they're down there, but they can come right back up. And I've been saying this. And am I laggy at all?
No, you're good.
Okay. And I've been saying all these other teams, you know, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, not Miami, but Indy, all of them, they got to play each other. And that's going to make it really tough for any of these teams to win out because they're playing each other. So it's impossible. There's going to be a ton of combinations for I think for every team, the best they can go is like 2-1 if you look at it, because everybody has to lose at some point.
Yeah.
Unless one team goes undefeated, but then all these other teams end up losing because that team beat all these other teams. So Denver's playing they're playing AFC opponents, which is great because conference record dictates a tiebreaker, and the loss coming against a non-conference team in the Lions doesn't hurt us. But now we get to play the New England Patriots, the Chargers, and the Raiders, 3 AFC games. So that'll boost if they win out. Now, if you're asking about my confidence, not high. And it's really a tough spot to be put in right now because on one end, I see a team that lets me down sometimes, and I see holes in it. And I got to kind of take a step back and take a look and be like, is it realistic to get 5 turnovers every game? Is it realistic to do these things? And you don't want to do that because if they win out, you don't want to be like, oh, remember 3 weeks ago when you didn't believe? Yeah. But I do believe that this team can win their final 3 games. And if that does happen, I'll be ready to rock and roll for the playoffs. I'll be fucking fired up. Yeah. But I'm concerned after the way they lost to the Lions. So for right now, I'm going to say pretender. And if they can win their final 3, absolutely they're a contender, because at that point they've only lost 2 games in their last like 12 weeks. So yes, big time contender. But I don't like even saying the word pretender about my team. So let's just move on from that one.
All right. Who you got for me? Who you got for me?
All right. Cleveland.
Okay, the Cleveland Browns have, like I said earlier, they have been resilient all season. 4 different starting quarterbacks, 3 different starting running backs, plethora of guys just being hurt for the Browns on both sides of the ball. So it's been tough to be a Cleveland Browns fan because of the injuries and the quarterback swaps. But this team is 9-5. They are second in the AFC North, and they're just getting closer to that division. They're not going to get it, obviously, because the Ravens are that much better, but they're closer to securing a 5 seed, a 6 seed. They're closer to being like one of those mainstays in the playoffs right now. I'm not sure what their record looks like coming up, but if I'm being honest, the Browns, they're contenders, man. But it all rides on how well Flacco or whoever they get in at quarterback during these last 3 weeks. It all rides on their shoulders and how well they can do in that offense. So right now, week 15 going into week 16, Browns are contenders. Kyle, next up for me, the Colts. What do you think about the Colts? Contender or pretender?
I'm gonna say there's a third option. I'm gonna say they're a contender, but if pretender is my way of saying that they won't make the playoffs, I'll say they're pretender. And I do think that they have the talent to make it to the playoffs, but I don't see them beating Buffalo right now. And of course, I got to have my team in there, so that's a spot. And there's also some teams that we need to talk about. One that I'm higher on. So, I mean, the Colts are playing the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Texans. Those are very winnable games for the Colts. But Falcons have a lot to play for. Texans will have CJ Stroud. I do think somehow they find a way to finish the season 1-2. And I do think that's going to push them out. But, getting Anthony Richardson back next year, this team, if Anthony Richardson is the real deal, I'm telling you, timestamp this moment, because if Anthony Richardson, if the Colts somehow make the playoffs, by the beginning of next season, off-season chatter is going to be the Colts as a dark horse Super Bowl team.
I like it. I like it.
So a lot to be happy about if you're a Colts fan, even if you don't make the playoffs. Kind of like Denver. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, it's a building year. It's a huge build. It's a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah. All right, Kyle. Who you got for me from the NFC side of the wild card?
All right, the NFC, the Rams.
All right, the Rams. The Rams. Okay. The Rams have been playing amazing lately. Now, are currently the 7th seed, and they've got New Orleans next week, who New Orleans is also playing for the divisional side of things to get into the playoffs. The Rams have done outstanding things as of late. Matthew Stafford has just been like re-energized, it seems like, but it all started, I believe, with Kyron Williams and him coming back from injury. You had Puka Nacua, you had Cooper Kupp there the entire time, and yet there were still some like roadblocks for this offense to kind of get rolling. And, as a product of the offense not really rolling, the defense kind of lacked a little bit of that Super Bowl defense that you had there, right, with Aaron Donald and Von Miller. But as of late, Kyron Williams is scoring touchdowns and rushing for big yards. Puka Nacua is still shining as a rookie wide receiver. Cooper Kupp is still being his same veteran self, the same guy that Matthew Stafford can rely on. And Matthew Stafford is looking like Super Bowl Matthew Stafford. So this team offensively is looking amazing. The defense is the only thing that kind of worries me. They let up 20 points to who was it that the Rams played? Who was it just now? I was looking.
Oh, the Arizona, or not Arizona.
No, not the Cardinals. It was the Rams
The-
played the Commanders. The
Commanders, yeah.
20 points to the Commanders, and that was with Jacoby Brissett coming in mid to late game, right? So that's the only really thing that worries me is how much can this defense handle from playoff teams moving forward. But as of right now, I've got the Rams as a contender, man. They're not going to get the NFC West, obviously, because of the 49ers, but the Rams can absolutely get into the playoffs. And as a 7th seed, yeah, I think I would say either a 6 or 7 seed because Philly's got that 5th on lock. And all right, Kyle, for you from the NFC side, we're going to stick with an NFC North foe, something that you have a little soft spot for. What about the Packers? Is the Packers a contender or a pretender?
It's messed up that you put me on this one. I had the Packers as being contenders.
Ooh.
The Packers are not. I mean, look, after they beat the Chiefs, I thought they were going to win the rest of their games. Clearly
Same.
not true. But yes, Baker did have a career game, and they are without Christian Watson, who when he was on the field, they looked a lot better. So I do think it's a big deal. If you needed a bounce back game, the Panthers are the perfect team on Christmas Eve. I think they beat the Panthers, and then I think they go into Minnesota and get that win, and then they're closing out, of course, with the Bears. But based on these last couple games, I'm going to say right now they're a pretender. If you don't beat the Giants and you can't beat the Bucks for whatever reason, whether it's injuries or not, having a reasonable injury list is part of making the playoffs. Like that is not something we are like, oh yeah, but if they were healthy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you're not healthy and you don't have your stars and you're losing football games to teams that are either under 500 or barely 500, then I'm going to say that you're a pretender. Even though 2 weeks ago I had this team winning out, I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah. Love it.
And okay, the last one for you, it's actually an AFC team, but I didn't want to skip it. The Bengals.
Okay. The Bengals. Oh man, this is a tough one too because
They have
got
a 37% chance to make the playoffs right now.
Okay. They have a big game coming up next week. They got it against Pittsburgh. And that's, other than conference, that's another divisional opponent tiebreaker they can have. And the Browns are still ahead of them in the playoff seeding. I did not expect the Bengals, or actually I did not expect the Browns to be where they're at. I actually had the Bengals earlier this season as one of the teams that was going to make a playoff push. Obviously, that was before the Joe Burrow injury too, because I expected after his injuries that he came back even better, but now he's done. It's Jake Browning. That's who the guy is for the Bengals. They seem to be in a sweet spot right now. They're winning 3 in a row. They've got the Pittsburgh Steelers next week. But on the other side with the Browns, they've got Houston next week, who's also playing for a playoff spot. Pittsburgh, I think they're pretty much done. I think the Bengals can get a win, and I think they're going to lock up the number 6 seed. I got them as contenders. I've got the Bengals and the Browns as contenders going forward in these playoffs.
Okay, so I think
All right.
we had about half contenders, half pretenders.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Love it. Did you want to do one more team, or could we move on? All right.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I got one more, and this is one that's I'm a little closer to, and that we were both a little closer to. The Seahawks. The Seahawks just came off a big win against the Eagles, and the Eagles look very beatable, and they have looked very beatable the last few weeks. But the Seahawks are in a tough spot because while they were looking good in the season, right now it's starting to look a little bad for Seattle. They're 7-7, and they're the 8th seed. So, Kyle, the Seahawks, what do you got?
I'm going to say too little, too late. I think the Seahawks, that is the kind of win that they needed in order to kind of catapult them forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Contenders.
Oh, shit.
The Seahawks are a contender. It's because Green Bay's playing the way they are. Like, they had the door closed on them. Not only did they get that win against the Eagles, but then you had other NFC teams opening the door by taking losses to teams that shouldn't be losing to. So, yeah, the Seahawks, if you beat the Eagles and the other teams that are having a similar record are dropping to, the Giants and the Bucks, who am I to keep this team out? They showed that they can beat the best in their conference, one of the best teams in their conference.
Yeah.
Debatable if they're top 5 in the NFL right now, but definitely a top 3 team among most people in the NFC in the Eagles. So you get that win, that catapults, anything can happen now that they got that win. But I don't have the remaining schedule. I'm just going to pull it up really quick because I think it's really important. I know they played the Seahawks twice, or the 49ers twice. So I don't think that, they're going to have too many NFC West games, but there should be one. Yeah, they got the Titans, the Steelers, and the Cardinals. So there's their one conference game or division game. I think they beat the Titans. I think they beat the Steelers, and I think they beat the Cardinals. They're gonna win out. They're gonna win out. Now, if they do lose to the Titans or Steelers, I mean, it's the NFL, dude. I mean, I look at these games and I'm like, yeah, they went out. But I said that about Green Bay, 2 weeks ago, and they haven't won since. So, I mean, it's easy to say they should win out. But after the Eagles game, I'm going to say they should win out. But whether they do it, we'll find out.
And it's something that everybody says and that we still kind of fail to realize as people who talk about the NFL week in and week out. It is a week-to-week league. Week-to-week league. You can be soaring up high, and then the next week, bam, now you found yourself just fucking like, what the hell happened? The Dolphins last week against the Titans versus this week against the Jets. They were at the lowest of low after that Titans loss, after they came back, and look what happened. They destroyed the Jets. And even the Lions, for example. I'm sorry to bring that up, but just team after team, the Bears, it just happens. So it's a week-to-week league, but it's always so exciting to talk about.
It is, and we're getting to that time of the year too, where people are going to need a little bit of help. All of a sudden, Bronco fans are cheering on freaking Dolphins to beat the Bills, and Bengal fans are wearing Steelers. No. But they're cheering for the Steelers. Like, we need the Ravens to lose. Like, it's getting to the weird time of the year where we're gonna put on multiple hats, all in the pursuit of our team getting in.
Definitely. So. All right, Kyle. Well, let's get to the little chives. Little chives with Kyle. Kyle, what you got for us?
All right, I thought it would only be fitting that my chives would be a little cherry on top to the contenders, pretenders segment we just did. So here it is. Playoff picture entering week 16. This is chance percentage of making the playoffs. Right now, of course, the Bengals and Colts. Bengals 47%. They're the 6th seed right now. So not even a 50% chance of making the playoffs, and they're the number 6 seed currently. And then the Colts are at 56. And you have for the 49ers, 100%, Cowboys, 100%, Lions, 99%, Bucks, 73%. That's pretty surprising considering that division's kind of close, but 73%. Eagles, 100%, already clinched. Vikings, 54%. Rams, 52%. So based on these, percentages, they're saying the playoff picture isn't going to change. I think it does. And then who's on the bubble? The Texans, Bills, and Broncos. 53% for the Texans, 60% for the Bills. Only a 24% chance. And then if they win, it'll go to 30 for Denver. If they win, it goes to 32. If they lose, they have a 3% chance of making the playoffs. Of course, they cannot afford another loss, but there's plenty of scenarios. Keep in mind that the Chiefs are going to play the Bengals. The Colts are going to play the Raiders. The Seahawks are going to play the Steelers, especially if the Seahawks are doing good. That could help us a lot, get that Steelers win or get that Steelers loss. And then week 18, you got the Bills playing the Dolphins. Miami wins that game, I think. The Ravens play the Steelers. Steelers lose that game. So I do think based on like all these other games that are going to be happening, we're just going to be quietly in the corner taking on the Raiders while, the Steelers are getting destroyed by the Ravens. Now, hopefully the Ravens, and I do believe they will be playing for something week 18, because I would hate for the, Lamar to be resting and the Steelers get the win. And then, but considering the fact that Miami is playing the Ravens the week before, I doubt anyone's going to be in any kind of shape to rest this entire year. With the way the AFC is right now, I don't think anyone's resting this entire season.
Love it. And we've got an added chives. We've got Bill's chives. More restaurants should have tater tots as a side option. I could not agree more. You throw that on a presidential bid, election, whatever, and I'm voting for that guy, Bill.
Like with that spicy mayo, kind of like a siracha mayo with cheese and like
so crispy.
So crispy. I like it now when we're talking about tater tots.
and Bill?
Can't agree more.
Can't agree more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's Week 15 recap. Kyle and I went over all the games. We talked about our top 5. We even talked about some contenders and pretenders. Thank you guys for everyone. Bill, Angel, we had E-Dub, we had Crafty, we had Sports All Day. We had all these people in the chat today making conversation, liking the stream and everything. So we appreciate you guys. Kyle's over there in a weird lighting. I love it. He's being transported up to a spaceship by an alien. So I
will learn what Brock Purdy was injected with at the age of 3.
So thank you guys again for liking it, commenting, and please share it. Please subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family. We're almost at 500. We are so close to memberships, to super chats, to all sorts of cool perks for you guys, the fans of the Only Football Podcast. So go follow the Only Football Podcast page on X at Only Football KR, and you could go follow me on X at and now Rick. Kyle, where can they go follow you on X?
You can follow me at FTBLONLYPODCAST. As always, please like and share the podcast with all of your friends. We are growing. We're almost up to 460. Our shorts are doing well. Just channel in its entirety I love what it's becoming, and I just appreciate all the late nights that Bill, would just when I was when you were on deployment, and I would be doing an hour episode and Bill would just be in there just engaging, pulling us through to get to these, days where there's football on and you're back, and
Yeah.
it's really the people that keep you going. So thank you guys.
Yeah, Bill, definitely go watch more of the shorts. We have a ton of fun making them, and they're very hilarious and they're awesome. And remember, you subscribe to our channel, you're supporting a couple Navy vets. So, we appreciate that. And we just love all the love you guys give us. Thank you guys so much, Kyle. Always a good time, brother.
Always a good time. See you guys next time